I remember thinking that it was probably one of those moments where like people will probably be talking about it for a long time.
Liam Crowley from Comicbook.com here with Reginald the Vampire himself ahead of season two, Mr. Jacob Batalon. Jacob, thanks so much for taking the time.
Hey man, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was reading in the season two synopsis, something that's going to be going down in season two is that Reginald the Vampire is going to prove that the undead life is just as complicated as living itself. So wanted to ask the man himself, the titular
Yeah.
character, what about undead life is so complicated?
Oh, I think in like the basis of the story, we're going to be fighting angels, and I feel like that's something humans don't really do. So that's pretty stressful. And then like there's like deeper meanings to like relationships that you kind of have to like deal with as well as a vampire. But we're not in terms of season two. It's really just how we defeat the angels after we've like basically turned over new leaf. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And something too that we're going to be exploring in season two is a little bit more of darker tones. Like I know Reginald the Vampire is still rooted in its comedic charm and all that, but
Yeah.
it seems like from what I've seen so far that we're going to be going down some more serious pathways. So could you kind of touch on that? Like what made season two the right story structure to go down that direction?
I feel like that's more like a Harley Payton question and our writers. I feel like I feel like we were all shocked as actors to like see like how dark it gets and like how like deep it gets. But I think it just like is the natural progression of our story. And we just wanted to really raise the stakes because there's like all these things you have to deal with when you're fighting the angels. And yeah, it's just like another level. Like we were allowed to show what we could do with the first season, and now that we have more space to play in things, we can show where things could end up with these seasons.
Absolutely. And you said in a prior interview too that speaking on Reginald the Vampire, his character specifically, that he's going to make an effort to save everyone, despite the fact that this everyone might have been people that didn't want to save him in season one. So,
Yeah,
you're the one who's in this character's DNA. What
yeah.
about Reginald makes him so selfless?
I think it's. I feel like you'll sort of watch his growth from that to. I mean, from sort of like afraid to take the stance to really becoming the hero of the day in season two. It's something he has to like learn to accept because we sort of see him do it in the first season, but now it's really on his shoulders again for some reason, and it's really just like the natural progression for Reginald for sure.
And this is a first for your career because, to my knowledge, it's your first season two of a television show. You have
Yeah.
experience, though, with doing sequels before, obviously completing the full Spider-Man trilogy and popping back for a couple Avengers movies. What about a second season? Do you feel has parallels to returning for a sequel movie? And what are some of the differences you've noticed with, returning for a whole batch of episodes as opposed to just one film?
I think when you go back to the same character, it's sort of like, you're meeting a friend, like your old friend that you haven't seen for a while. Or like it kind of feels like you're kind of on summer break and you get back to school with everyone. And our group is like so great and close knit, so that's really fun. I think the main difference though is that you definitely have to sustain it for a lot longer. And TV does move fast, but you also do a lot more time than on a bigger movie. So I think that's probably the main difference.
And you talked about Harley obviously early. What's your kind of creative relationship with the writers' room? I know obviously when you started on season one, you might have just been coming in to do your job, but are you now getting to have a little bit more input on how you want to see Reginald grow?
Yeah, I definitely feel like we all sort of have our own. They give us the space to really share what we feel like would be good for the characters and like their growth and their arc. But I think they've been very open about that from the beginning. So I think it's really just more now that we understand each other and worked with each other longer. We know like what's like the perfect formula.
And I mentioned too, obviously you have experience on sequels, that being completing that Spider-Man trilogy. Going back to 2021, you were a part of, and I can say you were directly responsible, your character Ned Leeds, creating one of the most historic scenes in my generation of film, that being
Yeah,
bringing Andrew and Toby into the MCU
right.
proper. If we can flash back to that day on set, I would just love to walk through your memories of the scene, what your emotions were like, and just the overall vibe on set.
I think everyone on set knew it was really special because it was such a great time to really. I mean, it's never been done before, so I feel like everyone understood the gravity of the moment. But we also kept it really like light and like I feel like at that point in filming, because we were like working during the pandemic, we were just like all grateful to be there. But obviously, like working on that scene specifically was just such a like it was a delight because Andrew and Toby are like super great. I remember thinking that it was probably one of those moments where like people will probably be talking about it for a long time. and it was really fun. I feel like that was probably the time where I kind of got to know them the most.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the scene again. I've only watched it like 2 or 3 times because I need the
Yeah,
context of the hour buildup for it in order to retain
yeah,
that specialty. So, like you
yeah,
said, it's gone down in film history. I know you've been peppered by so many people about possibly returning for Spider-Man 4, but I want to go down a little bit of a different direction because the last time we
sure.
see you in No Way Home, you got accepted into MIT alongside MJ.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
as we know, MIT pops up in Black Panther 2. Riri Williams is going to be going there in Ironheart.
sure,
Is that
sure.
possibly an avenue you'd want to see Ned go down? Maybe not keep going down the Spider-Man films, but maybe
Yeah,
just kind of doing his college studies on the MIT campus.
yeah. I mean, that'd be great. I feel like I don't know how to. I guess I don't know how to like respond to these questions because like I think it's a really great idea. But these are things that like are definitely out of my control, and I really don't know like what any type of plans are. But it would be fascinating for sure. I feel like I'm more like I'm just like I would be grateful to be a part of something great again. But I think that's a really fun idea, and I feel like you guys are super smart figuring shit out because I feel like you guys learn stuff before I do, which is crazy. So
Yeah, the theories go wild on social media, and it's
yeah,
hard to not like,
yeah,
hypothesize. Is that a word?
yeah, sure,
Hypothesize
yeah,
about what we could
yeah.
go down. One final on that note, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Have you seen some of the Ned and Wong memes over the years?
I've seen a few for sure. I've definitely seen a few.
The fan posters kill me. It's like
Yeah,
Ned,
they're awesome.
Wong,
Yeah,
Morbius,
yeah.
Kamartage. They're fantastic.
No, it's awesome. Yeah,
Something that on the No Way Home front, but not necessarily related to Marvel. You had quite the physical transformation going into that film, and I just want to congratulate you on that journey.
thank you. I
Physical fitness
appreciate
is
it.
a big part of my life, and I know
Yeah,
what it's like to go through the grind and not necessarily enjoy the process until you're like maybe four
yeah,
to 6 months in. Just curious for
yeah,
you, at what point did it click for you where you were starting to like enjoy what you were going through? And do you feel
yeah.
like you've reached your destination, or do you feel like you still want to do more?
I think what really kept me motivated was just, I guess, seeing results. I think that was probably the main thing for me. But then it also kind of became like a habit that just I felt like I didn't do anything for the day if I didn't work out. So it sort of was just like built into like my everyday thing. And I was very like unfortunate. I mean, I was very lucky during the pandemic to have been able to find this sort of pattern because like everyone else has been like going through a lot during that time. So it just like gave me the opportunity to be like on a rigid schedule, and that really stuck with me. I'm not really at my goal yet. I feel like I've definitely yo-yoed a bit since then because of like a lot of things, but I'm getting back to it for sure, and I really
Yeah, I
appreciate
mean,
that. Thank you.
yeah, you look great. And again, and anytime I
Thank
see
you.
like anyone go through such a crazy physical transformation, I was,
Yeah.
I was like 110 pounds soaking wet in high school. And so like I
Right,
know what it's like to go on the grind. And so I always give
right.
props to anyone who
No,
goes
man,
through
thank
it.
you.
Yeah, one final question for you, Jacob. Obviously, we're in season 2 of Reginald the Vampire. We don't know any word yet on if season 3 will come around, but I want to
Yeah.
ask you, without getting into specifics, do you feel a sense of finality with season 2, or do you think that there's room to explore the character and just the world as a whole, possibly down the line?
I, I think it definitely doesn't end finite. I feel like it definitely is. It ends on a cliffhanger, if anything, like a very crazy cliffhanger. So, I would hope that we have the chance to continue to tell the story because I think it ends crazy. Yeah,
Awesome. Well, the next couple weeks are going to be a lot of fun. And congrats, Steve,
yeah.
also on all your success. I know Tarot's coming
Thank
out
you.
very soon. I know you
Thank
got
you.
Novocaine coming out next year. A lot of big
Yeah.
things in the works for you,
Thank you,
Jacob.
man.
And again, I always appreciate your time.